see some shiny faces this morning. I see Cindy Wadsworth in the house and Douglas and Rich Tomasini, our guest today, and a couple others. And I know people will be rolling in here. They always come rolling in between now and 9 o'clock. And every week we do this now where I feature a leader in the company for the first 15, 30 minutes, whatever they need. And then we go into live dials from 9 to 10 o'clock Pacific time. So I encourage you to do the live dials with us. You could either do your own and mute yourself, or you could listen to me make live dials, whatever is good for you. That's the goal of this. So Rich, good morning, man. Good to see you.
Good morning, Randy. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being the guest today. We very much appreciate you. And your resume is very long and distinguished, but I'm going to sum it up to just a couple quick things. 4 years at EXP, 2,060 agents in your organization, and you run the number one brokerage in the Charlotte area, Charlotte, North Carolina, right?
Right, exactly.
So you run the number one brokerage in that area. That's all needs to be said right there. That is a winning combination, and it's really been fun to watch your success with EXP. You are definitely one of the leaders that are making an impact of what this movement is doing. You were a creator of the EXP family tree, which is kind of a team agnostic, right? It's a team agnostic kind of platform for resources and things. If you haven't seen or heard of it, it's called EXP family tree. I use it a lot now. And I need to do better about contributing to that too, because the more contribution, the better it becomes, right?
Yeah. It's like an orphanage for agents that are craving stuff from their upline. Like I did. And I was like, I could be negative about this, or we can iterate something that's be interesting that could help prevent this. So Elizabeth Riley, Hank Avink, Mitch Ribach, and myself are all on 4 separate lines. We're like, listen, let's pour 50%.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're all 4 in different
that's
lines,
actually really cool.
different states. And we're like, listen, let's all pour 50% of what we're pouring into our groups together so they can get a taste of these different flavors. And now we got 5,400 people on there in the last year. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so join us if you want. We don't monetize it. So.
It's actually an amazing resource. I was very impressed with it. A little envious when I first saw it. I'm like, God, what a great idea. Those great ideas always like ring my bell. But I love it because there's so much contribution we can give to that, and it just gets better. And
Randy, join us. You could be the 5th finger on the hand.
Hey,
we meet all the time, and like we pour nuggets in there for everybody to listen to. I don't care who's your sponsor.
I love it, and I'm in. I'll
Cool.
just tell you that up front.
Good.
I'm in because it's making a difference. And
That's right.
as much as we, as leaders, and it's funny, I coach people and they go through different levels. When they get to about 100 agents, there's certain struggles to get to 100, and then 100 to 250 is certain struggles,
Yeah.
and then 250 to 500 is different struggles, and then 500 to 1,000 is a completely different amount of struggles. And I said all struggles there. It's not all struggles. There's a lot of winning in there, but understanding what's coming ahead of you is such a big deal. So that's why I really like connecting with guys like you, and Elizabeth's in my line way up, obviously.
Yeah.
But super excited. So the nature of this call, and what we do, Rich, is we record this first section, whether you want to spend 10 minutes with us or 30, it's up to you. Gene Frederick a couple of weeks ago kicked it off, and he spent like an hour and 10 minutes, and it was amazing because it's like, the amount of wisdom coming from that.
Yeah, sure.
But what we do is we'll save these recordings for nuggets in the attraction piece. And then I don't record the live dials for obvious reasons.
Of course.
We don't want to get Cindy to come on board and then find a recording of her 2 years ago when I was like, do it. What are you thinking?
Yeah, listen, I'll keep it condensed. I'm high energy and short attention span. So if you guys can empathize with that, I might be your cup of tea this morning, hopefully. So listen, first of all, not to make this a mutual edification society, because that bores me also, but the fact that you guys have somebody that's going out there calling in front of you and setting a pace like that is very rare. I haven't met one person that does that in this organization in the 4.5 years I've been here. Wow. So Randy, man, I mean,
no phone number.
Thank you, bro. I'll mute people as they're making.
Okay.
I love where she's going in her thinking, but I think
I got it. Sorry about that.
Richard's selling right now. So anyway, so it's my honor to be here. So listen, I am a kind of a black sheep for the company because I'm not a yes man. And I have a hard time mirroring people's head nods and all that stuff when I think it's total blasphemy coming out. So just to let you know, you could kind of have purple hair and succeed here. They don't really care what drum you're marching to, as long as you're marching.
I love that. I love that about you. I've always been attracted to you because of that style. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you. I was in a asshole rehabilitation program, but I failed. It didn't work out. So I came out exactly like I went in. So I try to break it down into three basic principles to build revenue share, because I was not a YouTube celebrity. I was not in a mastermind group that's 50 grand a year that hung out with a bunch of big players, and then I called them and said, "Hey, there's this great idea at EXP," and they all came over and brought 8,000 people. And then I'm not a really good salesperson. I was never a buyer's agent. I talked people out of buying houses, so I'd go broke. I was a listing agent, and so I try to make it very practical, things that we can actually. If we were in a fighting class right now, I want to show you how to save your life on the way to the parking lot after your first class. So we're going to keep this super basic, and I stay in this triangle every single day. So the first thing is having a simple pitch for EXP. What exactly are you saying? This is a pretty robust model, and it's hard to explain, right? I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but virtual world, 2,000 employees supporting us, workplace. What's workplace? KV Core. I hate CRMs. Skyslope. I don't want to learn that, right? Like, what do I have to have on my cell phone? What apps do I need? The download on the world. I had to resync 5 times. It's just, to me, it make your head spin if you went to public school like I did. So I try to compartmentalize this into very basic programs. So the way that I pitch EXP, because I really only have, like, if I'm in the elevator with Randy and we're coming down the Ritz-Carlton, so he's definitely spending money on vacation, and I see that he's got a real estate shirt on, right? And I got like 30 seconds to just to turn his head. Okay, this is a movie trailer. It's a teaser. So how do I explain EXP in 30 seconds? Right? Most of us can't explain it in 30 minutes. So the way that I decided to do it, and you guys can borrow this if you like it or create your own analogy, is I like classic cars, so this was an easier fit for me. But I was like, look, all of your brokerages are one lane. It's the speeding lane, right? We have a 3-lane highway at EXP. We have lane 1, which is where we take chances. We sell real estate, and you can outperform the model and get all your money back. And you could plug into our healthcare at 60% of the cost. And you could use Workplace, which is the largest referral network that's ever been existed in the entire industry. We have shareholders giving deals back and forth to each other seamlessly without any middleman, right? We have iBuyer set up. We have 2,000 people in this virtual space for people that have a short attention span and want immediate gratification. We have all of these different things here. We have 75 hours of live education for free, taught by the top 1% of producers in the country. We have all this stuff in lane 1, and that's great, right? There's some things that we can make life easier for you in lane 1, I'm sure, okay? But what's really interesting about lane 2 is that, unlike your brokerage, you don't have to rent your career here. You're going to earn stock 5 separate ways at EXP for doing what you did in lane 1. So at the end of your career, you could have 25 trophies with your name on there that you can't sell at a garage sale, or you could have thousands and thousands of shares of stock that's gone up 206% since I've been here. So it hasn't been a bad thing for us. So that's another interesting. And we're trading on the NASDAQ. This is not like, pink sheet stock that we started with 5 years ago here. This is the real deal. And then the third is sort of the aspirin for all team leaders. How do I expand without brain damage? I don't want to have to be a magician here, guys. I want to take one relationship and another relationship and have a territory-free model where I can grow anywhere my relationships are. And as long as we have an internet connection, we can work and collaborate together. And actually, even better, I don't have to get on an airplane and go hang out with Randy. I can just go in the virtual world and we can meet in a meeting room, right? And we have the ability to do that. And that's what's allowed my team to be stuck in a small town in North Carolina, to be able to have agents that are occupying space in 14 countries, is the ability to work virtually in a hub. Okay, and you can expand, and if you expand, of course, it's your brokerage powered by EXP. You're going to generate income from doing that. So if you're very entrepreneurial or you're a team leader and you like leverage, lane 3 is an option that doesn't cost you a $250,000 franchise fee and 3 weeks of monotonous classes in Denver, Colorado, right? We have a different way. So a simple explanation of the model, I think, really helps. You can even simplify it first, even faster. Hey, listen, man, we're 5 minutes till the airplane goes off the tarmac. You got all your luggage. You've got no time, and you're hustling up the staircase. I understand. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm going up the escalator, right? So I'm going to get there first. I'm going to get there faster. We're burning the same calories, doing the same thing. Okay, so if you're interested in having the wind at your back and not at your face, this might be something that you should explore just a little bit. All right, so basic, simple explanation. Now I went long on that, but you can really condense that fast. If I had 30 seconds with Randy, I'd say, hey Randy, everything that you and I've been doing the last few decades, we do that in lane 1, but we have a couple little fringe benefits here. But we also have this lane 2 where we earn stock, and I've gotten 14,000 shares of stock for doing what I did in lane 1 before. And then lastly, our teams are contagious and they can sneeze onto other relationships. And before you know it, we got a pandemic. We've got a big organization that's growing throughout the entire globe. Okay, so that's a real easy, basic explanation. So if you can explain it on a napkin, over a drink, in an elevator, without anybody crossing their eyes, I think you're off to a good start. Okay.
Dude, I looked up, I panicked. I'm like, holy crap, I hope I'm recording this. I saw the record button. I'm like, what thing? I literally got a hot flash. I was like, oh God, please be recording this. You know, it's such nuggets right there. And listen, I've heard it 1,000 times. And when I hear it from somebody like you, it resonates differently, right? And I think that's the takeaway here, Rich, and everybody on the call and everybody listening in the future. Your 30-second story is yours. It's going to come off differently for everybody. It's going to have a different impact and storyline, but that attached to me, that, you know, that got me, even though I've heard 30-second stories, I've preached them for years. So
Sure.
I love that piece of it. Take this 30-second story piece away from this today and reimagine your 30-second story so you can rip it off with that kind of confidence. Powerful.
Yeah, ready to rock and roll. There's no anxiety attached to it because it's true. Okay. So like, here's one thing. I don't have to land with all of you guys. All I have to do is land with Randy, and then he brings all of you guys. Okay. Randy has to land with all of you guys. I only have to land with Randy. So don't worry about getting 100% of the audience, right? Like, if that resonates with him, but like, for example, somebody else is checked out on that, that's okay. I mean, I'm definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but if you order this cup, this is what you get. And if you like it, this is what you get. So I'm trying to look for people that sort of are my type of people, right? And that will be the deciphering factor. That's your filter, is how you show up, how you come out with it, and how they receive it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's authentic, you'll probably find your people. Okay, second part.
I love that.
Strong agents. This is where I'm going to turn some people off. Okay. You can create 2 jobs at EXP. One, training people how to stay in this business, which 81% of people leave the business after 18 months of getting licensed. So you can try to be a savior, a martyr. A lot of us have those complexes from our childhood because we were, programmed by other unhealthy people like we are. So I get it. Okay. So if you want to, walk around with a cross on your back and march uphill with no water, I understand. I think all of us can share that sentiment at times. But that's an entire time task that doesn't go away for a long, long time, if ever. Okay, you're actually building a cultural environment where they are having a boss-employee relationship, which is not what we signed up for. Okay, now the other way that you could do this, which can sometimes feel too cold for me, and I also stay away from this, is you could be Cupid. Hey Cindy, meet EXP. EXP meets Cindy, right? And boom, and that's it. And I don't like that hands-off thing because I feel like I owe you more than that, right? So what I try to do is lean toward the sanity in that. And I'm like, listen, do what you're doing already. I will help you supplementally if I see blind spots in your game or if you solicit advice. We will carry on with calls and accountability and training for you to plug into to sharpen your sword. But you only come over to EXP if you know what you're doing. Why that helps is, like, honestly, it's more than threefold, but let's just talk about the 3 biggest things. 1, it keeps my time into income producing activities in which I can grow, because I'm not leaving my 2 little boys and my wife every morning to not grow. I'd rather just stay home, right? Number 2 is that retention is very good because I only sign up icon agents. All my level 1s are icon agents pretty much. Okay. Now I made the mistake early on. That's why you'll see I have 54 agents and 40 are qualifiers. I realized that I was making an error. But once I had an icon agent and the stock went up to $165 a share, I had glue. We all became one big clump of rice. Okay. So icon agents will win even if they're not in the revenue share. I don't want only the people that are in revenue share to win because it's like 1 or 2%. I need the 90% of people that can sell houses. So I went after icon agents, go after strong agents. And then third, independent people bring their own ideas, places that things I haven't thought about. Their collaboration level is so much richer in those pools. So like if you had the option of going, if you were going to be an Ironman contestant or an Iron Woman, right? And you were hanging out with runners, bikers, and swimmers, nonstop training, there's a good chance that you're going to move the needle, right? So would I rather hang out with somebody who's been sitting on the couch eating Doritos saying, hey man, I want to do an Ironman because I'm 45? Or would I rather hang out with a bunch of people that are training for Ironman, right? What's going to get me a better result? So I always like to stay in those pools. Like I always had this philosophy when I was selling houses. If I live in a $3 million neighborhood, I get $3 million listings. And my wife was like, Rich, we can't afford to live in a $3 million neighborhood. I said, I can't afford not to, right? Like I'd rather sell 3 houses and make $9 million of production than sell 80 houses and do 9 million and go gray haired and the whole rest. Okay. So
it's like flying first class, Rich. You sit in the back of the
That's right.
plane and you're like this and fighting with everybody that's your friends,
Right.
in your circle, or you could sit up in the front of a CEO potentially.
You're exactly right. So like I flew first class back from the Dominican Republic when I was like I'm 45, when I was like 37, 38 years old. And I sat next to a guy named Moises who had 8 international numbers and owned a chocolate factory. We still keep in touch. That was the one time I flew first class. Now with revenue share, my whole family, including my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old, all fly first class, and people look at us like we lost our minds. But the fact of the matter is that yes, you do bump into different experiences in different circles. So strong agents, all right. So what do we got? We have a simple explanation of the model,
Right.
and then so imagine if you were on a first date, right? And I was like, hey, my name is Rich Tomasini. I'm 45 years old. I grew up in Miami, Florida. I've been divorced in 2002. I hung in like a loose tooth throughout the bad economy. My dad never gave me enough hugs. I love karate. I love this. You'd be like, oh my God, this guy hasn't left his house in years. Like, give me distance. That's how a lot of us are pitching EXP. And it's overwhelming. It's repelling. Whereas if I was just easy and I said, hey, my name is Rich. Nice to meet you. What you into? What do you like doing? Tell me a little about what's happened the last 45 years. What are some of the highlights? It's an easier conversation. So the teaser of explaining EXP should be followed up with a pause, a little bit of engaging and connecting, and then some questions to guide them back to the structure of the meeting. Okay. All right. Last thing, third thing, and then I'll do like a little Q&A so we can spend more time on things that are important to you versus what I'm preaching, is daily activity. So like I'll give you an example for me is like so I started out late. I met my wife when I was 36, and my wife is 26, not by design. It was a blind date. They lied to me about her age so I would go, and we connected, and we've been together for 8 years. And I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. I don't have any prior kids, so I started having a family at 39, and then I had my little 3-year-old at 42. Right? So I'm sort of late to the party in this case. Most of my friends have kids graduating from high school, college, or whatever else, right? Some of them are having their own kids already, right? So in this space, I had gone to EXP right when my first son was about, I think about 10 months old. So I was working like a dog to do revenue share, because revenue share is not easy if you have an ego, and I have an ego. So I was like, man, I got to kill my ego so I can take the amount of rejection so I can persevere for my family. Like I'm getting in my own way by having an emotional reaction to rejection or people being condescending or rude. And, fine. So I did, right? Because finally I was working towards something greater than myself. I was working for my son, my wife, right? So I started to do that. And then I got really out of shape. Not that I was like obese or anything, but I mean, I was eating drive-through. I was having coffee with agents and having 5 packets of sugar so the spoon stands straight up. I just got sloppy. And like in January of last year, I was like, you know what, man? Like, I don't like going in the pool with my kids because I don't like taking my shirt off, right? So I started doing push-ups between revenue share calls with my buddy Tom, that's in my same office. He's 55, so he's even more, he's way more badass because he's 10 years older than me, and we match each other in push-ups, right? And we started doing push-ups every day, and we started with 20, and we looked terrible. But by the end of last year, we were doing sets of 200 straight, because little daily activity makes you stronger, whether you realize it or not. Now, I wanted to do 200 in the first month, but I was really happy to do 200 in the 12th month because I just couldn't believe that we were able to make such gains. So then January of this year, I decided to hire a personal trainer because I had spent an entire year getting my toes in the water, right? Like, I mean, I'm getting ready to get ready. And okay, I'm ready. So I hired a personal trainer and I've been training with him all throughout January, not posting anything on Facebook, not trying to get attention for it, just doing hard work 4 days a week at this guy's garage gym with no air conditioning. And I'm seeing transformation happen, but I'm not seeing it daily. I'm seeing it like, I'm really seeing it in old pictures, right? And my wife's not even noticed it. She doesn't think I'm in any better shape than I was until she sees an old picture because we see each other every day, right? So, but what happened is in the course of the last year and a half, I showed up every single day working on this. And despite how impatient I am or what I wanted out of this, the before and after photos are drastic, right? And when I'm in good behavior, I start making better decisions. Now, I could have never cut out pizza, right? Or cheap beer. Like I'm going to drink some cheap beer and eat some pizza along the way. But I started eating less the better shape I was in because I didn't want to self-destruct, and I know how hard it was that morning. Right now, I still occasionally will splurge, but it'll be kind of scheduled splurging. It's like some days I'll just say, forget it. I'm going home and I'm playing with my kids and my wife in the pool, and I'm cutting all my appointments at 2. But if I did all the work for the last 60 days in a row, I don't have any guilt associated with playing hooky. So it's just kind of that ratio. So the last part of this is daily activity. You've got to show up every day and move the needle. Right. So if you're counterpunching all day long, responding to text messages, emails, returning people's calls, sending them the document for the 4th time in a row, if you're doing any of that brain damage stuff, then you're not advancing the ball. You're never scoring points. You're never taking a shot at the net. So time blocking might help you. Is I time block, I take shots at the net. Like today, I did 2 recruiting calls, and I won't do any more because I just can't handle more than 2. Like I realize I'm a little fragile, so I can do 2 or 3, and then that's all I got. But if I was doing 20, I could never do it for 4 years in a row, right? So it's just a matter of like just realizing what dosage you can take, and then just being consistent about it. And like I don't know how you guys feel because it's easier for me to project for you guys than it is for myself. But if does anybody on this call think that if I do 2 a day for the next 5 years, that I won't keep all 7 levels unlocked? I mean, even a broken clock's right twice a day, right? So let's just say that I'm terrible and I just throw up all over everybody and I talk about myself and I pound EXP revenue share and don't talk about selling real estate, anything. You think I'll find one whack job that wants to do revenue share that will join? Probably, right? So it's just a matter of ratio. So if I talk to 700 people a year and I'm terrible and I only get 4, if I get 4, that means I only have to do this for 10 more years, 12 more years. Right? So that's the triangle I stay in, which is a simple explanation of the model, quality agents, daily activities. All right. I know that's a lot in one serving.
No, actually, I love that. I'm writing notes. So I like triangles, first of all, because it's completed, right? And Coach Bill Mayer, I used to coach with years ago, was everything he did was in triangles. Everything had 3 triangles, and we focused on 9 things, and then focused on the 3, and then the other 3, and then the other 3. But you know what stands out for me is number 1. What is your passion level with the EXP scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest? What's your belief and passion with it?
It's diminished. I was like a 10 on day 1, and I'm like a 4 right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Just to be very honest.
Yeah.
I loved EXP as a smaller company more. Hey, Brody, I didn't even see your face there.
Yeah, Brody.
Anyway, yeah, I loved. Good to see you, buddy. I loved EXP more in the beginning than I do now. But I'm not a big churchgoer. Like, if you put me in Joel Osteen's building in Texas, I'm not going to have the same experience as if I have like 10 people and, you know, just a piano and people dancing and doing, right? So like, I'm a small church guy, right? So I'm better in small churches, and I love the company more than now. The way that I'm able to offset that de-acceleration or the deceleration, I don't know what's the right word on that, but you guys get where I'm going, is by the personal experiences that I'm still having at the company, which is like, I have 8 agents that are making over $8,000 a month on my front line, right? I have 2 that are making over $40,000. So it's like, how many millionaires can we create? I think there was a time when I first started where Glenn thought that he had created about 50 millionaires. And I thought to myself, oh my God, what a currency, right? But I do think that if I live to my statistical end, I might be able to do that too, you know? So, I mean, so that helps me offset, my feelings of, here's the other thing too, is like, if you're invited into like, I don't want to be part of any group that's willing to have me. So there's a little bit of an anarchist mentality that I have, which has got its own host of issues. But I mean, essentially, what better way can you save a person who is like, this is like the Kentucky Derby. Like, these horses ran faster than any other horses, like that horse Rich Strike that won the first race, right? How this is how real estate is. You take a horse like that, you take him right off the track where he made millionaires, tons of millionaires, billionaires maybe, when you get into his generational mating, right? And then you take that horse and you bring him right to make Elmer's glue. That's a real estate career. Here's 40 years of everything I got, and then some 35-year-old hotshot comes into the place, and they're the top producer, and you're outdated, you're antiquated, you don't understand millennials or Generation Z, or you don't like learning technology, and you're off out and see you later. No gold watch, no going away party, just whatever you were able to save, and maybe some referrals until those get stolen. That doesn't seem fair to me. So when I saw this EXP platform, I felt like it was a revolution to treat people better. And now the way that my agents retire is with revenue share and stock. So they can go out sailing or RVing or help their grandkids or, buy themselves something nice or travel at nicer places, whatever it looks like, or feed charity. Whatever the calling is, that's their vision. I'm just trying to advance it. So I love that part of the company still very, very much. Out of 10, that part.
I love that. And you've always been raw and real. I mean, that's what I like about you, honestly. And not everybody is. I see Brody and other people shake it, acknowledging that as well. So you are, I know you're not going to say it, but you're a legend in the beginning of EXP, and you've created, you're in the top 25 of the company or whatever it is.
45 probably at this point. I'm sliding.
Yes. Yeah. So, but the thing is like, we're also overachievers, right? I mean, at least I know I want to succeed at whatever I get into. And this is a frustrating, sometimes hill climb.
Very frustrating. Yeah.
But you have some absolute rock stars. I mean, Brody obviously is coming into EXP. We got Jenny that's in Bend, Oregon, owned a Century 21 office. We've got Cindy Wadsworth that was, like Mrs. KW in the day and gave up thousands and thousands of stocks and different things to come to this company. Cool. They're all excited. They're all fired up. We've collectively locked arms, right? But what would you say to them? Take the 4-year-old Rich 4 years ago. And what would you say?
I apologize. I have to jump, but I love you guys. And
thank you, Brody.
I apologize for interrupting.
No worries, man.
But I gotta jump on another thing. But
thanks for being here.
Let's catch you soon. All right, love you.
See you, brother. Appreciate it. Later, Brody.
Okay, so like initially, there was a few things that I did that might have been helpful. So one thing is like, you got to be tough, right? This is hard. So Randy, back to your last statement real quick. Once my wife and I have $4.4 million returning interest on me, you'll never see me care about alpha influencer or what number I am. My measuring stick is at 4.4. We can live on the 4% guaranteed rule. It's 160 grand. We don't owe anybody a penny. Right. And we're not that far away from it. And
that's the amazing part.
I was very far away from it 4.5 years ago. Very far. So far to where that was even a goal. So once we get there, I could care less. At that point, it's just a matter of being present. But until then, I am focused on pushing the thing. So initially I did a couple things. I made some videos and built out a YouTube channel that is not very popular, that I don't monetize. I used it as a video library so I could post and get the word out there. So I wanted to control what that looked like. Now, I am deathly afraid of public speaking and doing videos. I'd rather be on the backside of the camera. But I just couldn't find anybody that would say it the way that would resonate with me. So I decided to get over it and just get on there and not watch it after it's edited. Just post it. So I started some things there. Second thing I did is I was relentless in growth. So I would Brent Gove. So Brent Gove came over, and then he brought Cliff Freeman, who I didn't meet till years after. I love Cliff. And then Cliff brought over AJ Maida, who was in my market, and AJ brought immediately over Shelly and Craig, and then they brought over Bill Price immediately, and then Bill brought me over. So we all came over in a stack of 4, and Bill Price and I built Charlotte, period. I don't care what anyone says. Everybody here knows that because we did all the events, the lunch and learns. We were both running ourselves to the wire.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we were hanging in like a loose tooth at best for like 2 years. And so Bill and I are very different guys, and you can't put us in a teepee and expect that there's not going to be some ripped canvas occasionally. So I was definitely in a space where I was like, look, I need to time block, and I need advice from someone who's been here for more than 2 weeks, because all of us have been here at the same time, right? We had, so I went to Brent Gove and I'm like, Brent, James, what do I do? And he was very clear. You got to time block 2 hours on every Friday, and you got to make calls like a telephone terrorist, and you got to keep your enthusiasm high, and you got to work this thing out. And I did. And guess what happens when you make calls every day, every Friday for 2 hours for years and years? You get better at them. You just get better. So I took some sales training, because I never had sales training on the difference between an objection and a condition, and how to be memorable in a conversation by sometimes disagreeing with something stupid right off the bat, just getting the antennas up. And I started to work through conversations in a way that we were able to use humor. So like if I called up Randy and he's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey, my name is Rich. I'm in North Carolina. He's like, what do you want, Rich?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, listen, I'm expanding out into your network, and I'm a large, great white shark like you are in production. And I want to meet for 5 minutes on a Zoom call and see if we're a good fit. And then he's terribly rude. Oh, listen, Randy, I obviously see that you have some weaknesses. Like, 1, you're not open-minded. 2, you're not patient. 3, you think you know everything. These are things that we can fix over time if you're willing to work together. So, like, I don't know what that's costing you, but I would imagine a fortune, because I'm not your everyday knucklehead that's calling you trying to pitch you on health insurance or chapstick. I actually have a real point. I want to talk business. If you're a business person and you want to grow and you think that $14 million a year is not the pinnacle of all success, when can we speak? And at that point, it's sort of a F off, or it's a pause, just a regathering. Like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, what? Right? But if I'm like, hey, Randy, how you doing? How's business going? Oh, God, we're both on suicide watch. Then he gets me off the phone, and he doesn't even remember that we talked 8 hours later. So we do have to start sometimes drawing a line in the sand quickly.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's all about our avatar. Who are we looking for, right? And then we're looking for the ones looking for us. So that narrows the field down a lot. And listen, how many calls do we get every week? If I get a call and they even have a slight Singapore accent, I hang up on them, right?
Yeah, sure.
And it could be a buyer, but that's just, we're conditioned for that now. So we have to understand that.
There's a lot of white noise. You might even start with that, Randy. Listen, man, my cell phone is like a white noise machine, where mostly everything coming through it is non-productive and uninteresting to me. But I'm not that phone call. So, like, lower the radio, take your eyes off the road for a second. I want to talk to you about some serious business. Look me up. Google me. So if you Google me,
bitch.
Yeah, right. If you Google me 4 years ago, all you see is a bunch of other guys named Richard Tomasini that have done like much better things than I have. They served in the military. There's all kinds of stuff out there. If you Google me now after 4.5 years, I pop up for 2-3 pages before someone else does. Yeah. So, start realizing that, when people are going to all Google you. So control what that looks like as a start.
I had to bury a Randy Byrd that was an artist and singer, and he just came up everywhere. And I'm like, I'm going to bury this guy with content.
Yeah.
It took me a couple years, but he's gone.
Yeah.
Such great nuggets. Number 1, amazing. Number 2, I value your time, so I want to honor that. But
thank you.
If you want to take Q&A for just a minute, that's cool. But I really, really value this time, and I'm going to leave the recording going for the Q&A, and then we'll shut the recording off and get with our live dials. But
so on our Q&A, let's go right into the diagnostics.
Okay.
Like, tell me the stuff that you guys don't want to admit to yourself, and let's just work there. Okay.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I would imagine most of you have fear of rejection, so you're not picking up the phones outside of this one time block. That might be one place that we're starting. But go ahead.
Yeah, let's hear it. Jenny, you're on the line. What's your experience? What do you have for Rich? He's one of the top guys in the company. Anything? I'm calling people out now.
I see.
Jenny, are you in line at coffee? I'm still going to give you a bad time.
Randy, I have something.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Cindy.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So I definitely have a fear of rejection.
Sure.
I have honestly never made a cold call in my life.
Okay.
And the one thing that I have done to get around that, because before Randy called me, and I would never take a recruiting call ever. And for whatever reason, when Randy called me, I took his call. Now, because I was an owner at Keller Williams and nobody ever thought that I would ever leave and I left, I get recruiting calls every day.
Yep.
So I take every one of them
That's right.
and I try to turn it on them.
You reverse them 100%.
Yeah. So do you have any advice on the
Yes.
language that I can use?
Yeah, maybe like if you were to call me, Cindy, in a different market and say, hey, hey, Rich, my name is Cindy. I'm a former broker owner at Keller Williams. And in my pond, I'm a large fish. And in your pond, you're a large fish. And there's never cross collaboration across the country. Everybody's worried about what's in their body of water. I would love to get on a call and brainstorm about what you think's going on with the economy, what you're doing in your business that's working, and what we're both doing that's not working. Are you ever interested in any kind of collaboration on stuff like that? That could
I
be a
love it.
start. If that's too
Yeah.
passive, then you can move it a little further. Does that feel okay? for you?
I'm an IS, so
Okay.
nothing's too passive.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Cindy, here's the power of that. If you care enough about them, like if I asked you, and we have a relationship, it took her 2.5 years to say yes to me, by the way, just so you
Yeah,
know.
it's a process.
But the reality is, if you're having a conversation, there's a reciprocity, a reciprocal piece that comes into human nature, right? If I'm going, Rich, how are you? How are your family? How many kids do you have? What do you
Yeah.
do? Oh, you love boats. He's
Yeah.
naturally going to say, Randy, tell me about you. And that's your opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to talk at EXP at that point. You could talk about real estate success and collaboration and partnerships, and EXP will come up. It's best when they bring it up. And if they don't bring it up, you could let it go.
You know what realtors are most guilty of over any other occupation that I've ever met is entitlement. They think because that they engage with somebody, they're entitled to selling their house. They're entitled to them coming over to their revenue share organization. They're entitled to be front of mind. And there's a big difference between engaging and connecting. So like, for example, Cindy, if we both lost our moms to cancer and we both had been through some kind of difficulty, you and I can put a lot of weight on that relationship and go further than if we're both realtors and we've both been doing this for 25 years. Okay. We're putting way too much weight on relationships that have engagement and no connection. So like one of the things that I try to do with, and I feel like I do a decent job of this because I do a poor job in a lot of things, is that my level ones that are here are all people that we know each other well. I know their kids' names. I know what happened to them. I know where their tragedies have been, their grief has been. I know I care. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're shaking the fleas that you don't feel that way with, because then it's just work. Oh God, I got to call Cindy today. She hates me. Right? Whereas if I'm like, hey, Cindy, what's going on? Dave Matthews is coming in your area. I just saw him in Charlotte. What do you think? Right? It's a different conversation. So, I mean, that connection point is very important. So what I would do, Cindy, is if I was able to move that one bit bolder, so I understand the S in you. And by the way, all D's love S's. Okay. So don't
Well,
be
I become a D because when an S is stressed, they become a D. So I'm very often a D.
Oh, are you? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So one thing I would say is like, I would make a bolder voice text to somebody that I know and maybe text on the front side, hey, my name is Cindy. I was a market center owner for KW or whatever that language looks like.
Yeah.
I'm the only person at EXP that was never at KW. And anyway, I started another brokerage and I'm expanding my team and I'm really have a tight litmus test of who makes the team. I'm really looking for like the dirty dozen. Everybody's like got a superhero skill and you have something that we don't have. And I think that the people that have the skills that you don't have really fill you out. I think there's some real good collaboration work here. Where you're selling at, is that your final stop? Are you there for life? Is that where you're going to do your last deal? And just let that be the dictator of how the conversation moves on.
Yeah, I love that conversation. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So like when you get people that are like, "Oh, I'm not interested in changing," what you got to say is, "Okay, the timing isn't right for you to change, but you're not going to be there for 15 more years." And if you are, like, let's reinvestigate what other long-standing relationships you've enabled to continue to be stagnant. Okay, right? But even if you had that conversation, you might say, someone might say, "Who the hell are you to say that to me?" And then my answer would be back like, "I'm the same kind of person that you were mistreating 2 minutes ago. It's all the same person.
Yeah.
I'm just now playing back, right?" So, if you guys like a little feisty back and forth, whatever it takes for us to get to the next call where we can get past that and get on the same side of the picnic table is interesting to me,
I love that.
Yeah.
This has been amazing, brother. I
Okay.
really, really
Thank you.
appreciate you being here. I value your time. I'm going to let you go, but thank
Thank you,
you so
Randy.
much. And thanks everybody for the questions. I'm going to stop the recording for now, but
Cool.
let's all give Rich a big warm welcome and clap and say thank you for him being here
Thank
today.
you.
So I appreciate
My
you,
pleasure.
brother. Thank you,
appreciate
man.
you too, Randy. See you,
Have a
buddy.
great day. Let's
Okay.
connect on Family Tree. Let me see what I can do to contribute.
Lean in, guys. Jump on a family tree. No one's monetizing anything. There's no agenda behind it. It's just like whatever we don't know. So use the platform.
It's pretty amazing. I appreciate you. Thanks,
Bye.
brother.
Thank you.
See you, man. All right, I'm going to stop the recording real quick, and then we'll re-record.